Shadow is a special kid who was so delusional that he created an army of underage girls to make money for him. He wanted to become so strong to the point where he even surpassed nukes. And how did he do all of this? Well, he first had to get isekai'd by the infamous Truck-kun. I will be ranking Shadow on the menace tier list as well as counting his kills and harem count. This is the popular girl at school and she's dead afraid of everyone, so she tries to please everyone, even Sid Kagane, the main character, who's gonna become the future overpowered pimp. But this brother just ignores her and continues to do some Rock Lee stuff, like carrying around a 100 kg bag, 100 kg shoes, and even a 100 kg gripper. Bro's so delusional that he thinks that everyone is an NPC and even refers to them as such. So while this girl was walking home, in the middle of the night, she bumps into a freaking hoodlum. She tries to run away but ends up getting kidnapped. She then sees this man Sid staring at her like he was the one who plotted all this. After they kidnapped Nishino, the girl, Sid decided to become Batman, and as they're about to do the no-no to the girl, brother blasts through the roof window and lands like some sort of superhero. Who the hell are you? My name? Oh shit, a name, huh? I got one. My name is Stylish Ruffian Slayer. After coming up with the crappiest name possible, even the guy is like, that is not your name, and attempts to shoot Sid, but Sid throws a blade into his hand, blitzes him, and body slams him, before stomping him out. The other hooligan then gets excited to get his butt whooped, so Sid and him engage. The guy tries to shank him, but Sid manages to avoid it. This guy then begins slobbering on Sid's blood and begins attacking him, but Sid suddenly pulls out freaking crowbars, and makes this guy regret that he brought a knife to a crowbar fight. Sid then begins spinning his crowbars around and then disarms his brother. Dude then decides to box up Sid, and he's actually doing well, hitting solid steel bars with his bare fist. He kicks Sid away and somehow manages to hurt Batman. If Batman was broke and lived at a homeless shelter, Sid then switches to police brutality gear and begins whooping this man. Dude gets backhanded away and realizes Sid is the crazy maniac who's been going around beating up entire gangs. Sid then approaches this guy, and Dude realizes that he's about to get violated, so he tries to grab the gun on the ground, but Sid makes this man take his hand out of the cookie jar. After this, Sid pretty much beats bro till he dies. Honestly, he deserves it. After Dude is looking like ground beef, Sid approaches Nishino and cuts her free. So just from this, Sid is already up there in the menace tier list. After this, Sid realizes that he's still not him, so for him to become the main character, he begins smashing his head against a rock while chanting like a maniac in the middle of the night, before running into the road and died by Truck-kun. He was then reincarnated as a spoiled child. The parents notice that he isn't crying, which Sid quickly realizes that he's been reborn. It's as if he kind of planned for it. Throughout this story, you guys are going to see that this guy Sid is either the biggest idiot or an omni-brain genius. So as this brother grows up, he pretends to be the side character, while still actively participating in menace behavior. This guy Sid, at 9 years old, decided to slaughter a group of bandits. After killing a bunch of them, one of them forgets that they're just a side character and attempts to attack him. He manages to land a blow, but Sid is like, just kidding, now get fucked. So after turning everyone into A5 Wagyu beef, this brother loots the place and finds the baddest girl in anime. He decides to take it home and begins torturing and experimenting on it. After an entire month of Frankenstein activities, the blob turns into a minor inconvenience. I have to blur this out since she's a minor inconvenience. Sid acts all dramatic and begins making things up. He somehow manages to convince the girl that he's not just pulling things out of his GTA pocket. So after recruiting the girl who's a minor inconvenience, he ends up recruiting an entire army of minor inconveniences. Now, you're about to see why this guy Sid is a legit pimp. Positive, inspiring, motivational person. Now, Sid likes to mess with people by acting like an absolute weakling. For example, while sparring with his sister, Sid got parried and sent flying by his sister, and as she's about to cut his head off, brother decided to do this disrespectful move where he moved out of the way, cut her like 50 times, and then moved back to the same spot and pretending to get sent flying. This already earns him a chance to compete with the other menaces, but this part is where his sister got kidnapped. So this is really about to prove that Sid is him. After discovering this, Sid summons his minor inconvenience. Right now, he actually has a total of 50. I'll have to keep track cause bro's greedy ass is taking all the minors inconveniences for himself. So they are now trying to figure out where his precious big sister went. As Beta is telling him where the enemy base is, bro tries to look cool by throwing a knife onto the spot, but ends up missing completely.
Below Shadow, there's nothing there. Willow Shadow, are you saying that the spot we were looking at was actually a bluff and this is the actual spot?
So while that happens, Sid's sister is locked up in a cell with this guy. She begins glazing this brother Sid, and this guy ends up saying that there's no incest in this anime, which makes Sid's big sister angry. She becomes crazy and begins threatening to kill this man's entire generation if he lays his hands on her brother from Alabama. But dude is like, man, shut your... Suddenly though, one of his minions comes running in, saying that the Minecraft players are attacking. Sid's army of overpowered chicks raid the place. The guy realizes that he's the only person left, and I wish I was in this man's place right now, cause he begins getting jumped by these baddies. So after getting beaten, he takes his Viagra and begins powering up. So after powering up, he attacks and sends Alpha back. He makes a hole in the ground and escapes. And yes, this is Alpha, and this is Beta. Sid didn't have time to name his miners, so he instead used code names. Also, you'll soon see that he gathers so many that he ends up just naming them by numbers. This Viagra addict ends up running to Sid, thinking that there's only one enemy. He attacks, but Sid freaking blocks it in the coldest way possible. They begin sword fighting, but Sid just dodges it and disrespects his brother by slapping his sword away and cutting him. After getting cut into bacon bits, he falls to his knees. I don't care how strong you are. The darkness of this world is far deeper than you can imagine. I bet. After Sid said that, he consumes all of his Viagra pills and charges Sid. But after attacking Sid 100 times, Sid makes it clear that you're not that guy, pal. You're not that guy. And charges up the most heinous attack and just kills him on the spot. After this, Sid goes back to being an NPC. His sister had to walk back by herself and clearly knows that this guy Sid, something's clearly up with this fool. But something bad happens again. Something way worse than losing your sister. Sid gets approached by his miners for Minecraft, and they say that they're getting too old for his taste, so Sid just ends up being maidenless. Well, even worse, he's minerless. Sid ends up attending a nice school where he plans to blend in with the rest of the side characters. He begins hanging out with these idiots who look like the most side characters to ever exist. Sid is standing there with a grin like, I'm about to be the best side character ever. His homies are like, you know you have to confess to the most popular girl in school, right? Ha, yeah, this is perfect. I get to perfect my role as a side character. So while this actual side character confesses to this girl, Alexia, he gets brutally rejected. She's a princess, so she walks off and leaves this dude broken. It's time for Sid's turn. He's been dared, so his friends are expecting him to have no game. And oh my lord, this brother really has no game. Princess, I like you. Will you please be my girlfriend? Nah, bro did not have to fumble the bag that hard. Even Sid is expecting to get rejected. Alright, Duke Dennis, I will. Huh? That proposal was so ass that honestly, let's get married. Now, Sid was now ready to make babies, so he actually tries to do rude things to get Alexia to dump him. Wow, that's a lot of food. Yeah, but I never managed to finish it. Oh, then I'll indulge myself. After this, Sid spars with her, and after, he discovers that Alexia is just using him as a scapegoat to avoid marrying this guy, who she says has no flaws and is perfect in every way, while Sid is flawed and has no redeeming aspect. So basically, you don't want to get engaged with the Royal Guards captain, and you're now using me to get out of it. Am I right? Yep. You're right. Sid doesn't want to have any part of this drama, but Alexia pulls out a shiny coin and tosses it over to Sid. Do I strike you as a guy who could be bought with money? Yes. Well, you're absolutely right. Sid ends up being her puppy, but trust me, he's acting really down bad right now because despite him having a harem, he's dead broke. Alexia and Sid end up getting into a fight, which Alexia dumps him. The next day though, Sid is hanging out with his two goofies who are like, did you clap? Huh? Like, did you do it? It's been a month. You had to at least have kissed her. Man, hell nah. Sid, despite having a mega harem, has never done PP training. So imagine if he does. Well, we have bad news, cause these guards surround them and reveals that Sid is the prime suspect in Alexia's disappearance. Alexia is actually in some weird dungeon. There's a Frankenstein creature here as well. And this crazy guy comes in to extract blood from Alexia. Blood. Sid has actually been arrested and is now being tortured and interrogated. I don't know what the hell bro is doing, but he's acting like he can't just whoop these two guys. Sid is soon released though, but don't think that he won't come back to get his ones back against these two arrogant guards. Sid runs into one of his maidens, not sure what to call them now since they're no longer minors, I think. She tells him about the Call of Diablos, which Sid could care less about. So Alpha and him end up doing PP training. Sid is so gonna be overpowered now that he's got some cheeks. After he meets up with Beta, where she tells him that she's arranged 114 members of Bro's cult. 114? Oh, Low Shadow, I'm sorry. This was all the minor inconveniences who could assemble. Damn. When did the harem grow to 114? He ends up just leaving, but encounters these guys who deserve a good beating. Oh my, if he isn't a loser. He throws a boot at him and tries to arrest Sid, but right now, this isn't Sid. This is Shadow. Shadow ends up killing them, and his harem is raiding the entire city. I haven't explained this yet, but the city is pretty much overrun by cult members. Not Sid's cult, but the cult of demon worshippers. On Alexia's side, the place is being raided by Sid's goons, so the doctor injects this big syringe into this creature. Go forth, my offspring! Kill them! The giant monster ends up killing the doctor and freeing Alexia, before going on a rampage throughout the city. Alexia frees herself and walks out, but she encounters the guy who was supposed to marry her. Oh, I was actually the one funding the doctor's research. Alexia is actually relieved because this guy was actually a weirdo, so luckily, she married Sid instead. He then brings up blood, which Alexia responds by saying, "Is blood all you lunatics talk about?" Well, if I had your big sister, that would have been better. I'll just have to settle for you, I guess. Alexia becomes enraged and tries to humble this guy. She manages to slash him, but ends up getting folded and punched into the water. As dude is about to carry her off, we hear boss music, and turns out, it's Shadow. My name is Shadow, he who lurks in the shadow and hunts the shadow. I apologize for that corny ass line, but that's what he really said. This guy begins saying that Shadow must be the one raiding their bases and clowning on this guy for missing all the main bases. You are now in the presence of one of the core members. He then gets into a stance and lunges to kill Shadow, but Shadow teleports out of the way and says, "So, where's this core member you're talking about?" And pretty much called him a side character. Bro begins trading with Shadow and talking smack, but as he tries to overpower him and dash in, Shadow just blocks his attack and pretty much says, "Stop yelling. This isn't Dragon Ball Z." And dude just falls into this nasty sewer water. Are you sure you aren't a side character? He then blitzes Shadow and attempts to regain his reputation, but each attack is parried. Alexia is over here admiring Bro's elegant form. She's already thinking about joining his already crowded harem. Shadow slashes this guy down and he drops to his knees. I swear I actually matter to the story. There's no way I'm a side character. But Sid begins saying some corny ass shit like, "We are the shadow, we hunt the shadow." But this guy begins laughing at his lame ass lines and gets up to pop some Viagra pills. He then begins screaming and powering up. Bro practically becomes a Super Saiyan and shows off by destroying a wall. He then powers up and thrusts at Shadow. If this is all you can do, then don't pretend to be him. Shadow then parried and uppercutted him, and before Duke could take a smoke break, Shadow jumps at him and begins beating him up like Batman. Gotham needs justice. He tries to fight back but gets walked down by Shadow. Shadow then activates this move that surrounds the entire area. What is this? What are you trying to do? Don't worry, I'm just gonna send you to our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, before nuking the entire place. Actually, he didn't even nuke the place, he nuked the entire city. This is so damn overkill just for some side character as well. You guys will see that Shadow does this a lot, and Alexia's over here like, damn, bro did not have to do all of that. After Sid saved Alexia, she calls them out, and as bro is about to leave cause she goes on a 10-hour rant. Wait, there's something I want to talk to you about. You told me you like my fancy style, remember? Maybe it's too late. Okay. Can I go now? But don't think it's because of you. What? Can I go, please? Sid is such a blockhead that he doesn't realize that Alexia is over here wetting herself for him. Bro, why are you touching your lips? Weirdo. Wait, we've been pretending to be a couple for a while now. That side character is finally gone, so if you're interested, we could be for real lovers? In your dreams. Oh, After that day, Sid was never seen again. Well, that's a lie cause this nerd ends up bumping into Sid, who offers a hand. He looks like he just left the scene of a murder, so she takes his hand and oh my days, this brother Sid cannot stop pulling all the miners from Minecraft. The boys are now nagging him about if he smashed, but bro still insists that he's a virgin, which I still don't believe, because with all those babes around you, you'd have to either be a monk or a chick yourself, not to smash. The boys begin talking about this new place that opened up, called Misagoshi, that has chocolates? Alright, this is weird cause this is supposed to be another world, so there's not supposed to be any chocolates here. Sid is also curious. They arrive at the establishment, but the woman outside says that it's gonna take a whopping 80 minutes to get inside. But Sid is that guy, so any woman that encounters him, lets him in first. The staff ends up leading Sid in, and he's wondering why everything looks so damn modern. Hey, this better not be some Diddy party. Sid arrives at this massive place and notices that all these women are bound to him. Turns out that it's one of his many hundred maidens that turned the BS that was coming out of his mouth into useful information. They pretty much built an empire out of Sid bringing up chocolate in the past. Sid ends up taking a seat and rewarding these girls with his seed? I don't know what this is. We finally get an explanation on how bro is gathering all these miners for Minecraft. So these women were infected with a demon disease, just like how Alpha was. Sid pretty much came around and cured them. Sid sees the crazy amounts of money that they've gathered. $1 billion? Oh, is that not enough, my lord? Oh, no. Holy. I'm a freaking pimp. After that, his broke ass decided to steal some money. Not even steal, cause if he asked for everything they had, they would have just handed it all over. But now that y'all know about Sid going nuclear Godzilla mode, collecting miners from Minecraft, and pimping his girls out, you guys are about to see how this brother gathers a whopping total of 66 maidens. Right now, it's only at 100. But before he raises up a freshman, he needs to take a fat dump. What's wrong, bro? I have to go. Holy crap. I'll remember you, brother. Yeah, go on without me. I don't think I'm gonna make it. Sid, wait! Nah, we understand. We'll never tell anyone that you took a dump outside. Man to man, you have my word. So they both run off to tell the entire school that Sid had to poop outside. Sid actually did this to see what Alexia was up to, and she's really out here finding random crackheads in the alleyway. She defeats one of them, but two more appears. And as they charge her, she dodges, but they manage to land a hit on her. She punches one of them, but gets cornered. As they attempt to harm her, Shadow appears to protect his kin. They quickly run away. His king tries to stop him, but he goes off to kill one of the assassins. Before Sid can kill the other one, his big four-headed servant appears. I got this, Lord Shadow. Alright, bet. Don't disappoint me. As the dude charges her, he ends up getting one-shotted. It's time for the boys to test their riz. It's also Valentine's Day. It starts off horrible though, cause these boys could not keep their mouth shut, and Sid is now being flamed by the entire school about taking a shit outside. Like, look at these guilty suckers. I have Chucky feel. Blondie went for an upperclassman, and it looks like he's winning her heart. Hey, what are you doing talking to my girl? No, Blondie ends up being led away to be put into a coma. Now, it's time for this bald bro's riz. What happened to him would never happen to me. I learned all about her. To her friendship, to what pennies she wears, to what steps she takes, how she wipes, where she lives, as well as her skirt length and her melon size. I am Potato, the ladies' man. Yahoo! My fair lady. Well, sounds like it's going well for that brother. But what about Duke Dennis, Sid Cognate? This freshman from before ends up setting some books down besides him. As she's busy being a bookworm, he puts down the chocolates and nonchalantly walks off.
Thank you. That's the boy who...
Well, it looks like Sid has added another minor to his army, cause she's over here sucking on chocolate while thinking about Sid. Sid is actually being harassed by his own buddies. They sign him up for a tournament, which in his mind is not a very side character thing to do. No. What? Why not? If you join the tournament, if you attract too many girls, for some reason, my stomach hurts. Sid ends up going through with it and is now in the tournament. Everyone thinks that he'll lose, and they might actually be right, cause as this match starts, they dash at each other, which as they trade, Sid pops a blood bag and pretends to get sent flying. As everyone thinks it's over, since Sid looks like his back is broken, he gets up like a possessed demon and says, it's not over. Hey yo, you look like you're about to die. Ref, there's still some desire to collect me in his eyes. They exchange blows once again, which Sid ends up taking the fall. This happens over and over and over again. Sid ends up being saved by the ref and taken away on the stretcher, which the girl here has already fallen for this idiot. Sid walks away crushed, I guess, but the pink-haired girl shows up and asks if he's hurt badly. You're who again? They end up going out to have tea, which is clear that Shawty wants some love. Sid ends up agreeing to become friends, and pink-haired girl calls her adopted grandpa over. This guy is important to the story because he's about to do something crazily stupid. Since Alexia and Sid used to date, Sherry, the pink-haired girl, goes to visit Alexia and asks if they're still together. This causes Alexia to panic, and the reason why I showed y'all this is because Sid's level of riz might actually be over 9,000. Sid is in class but notices that he can't use magic. Something is clearly up, so as he focuses, he realizes that people are coming. They burst into the room and destroy the swords. They claim to be Shadow Garden. The girl who beats Sid's cheeks tries to attack them, but her magic gets disabled. The guy slashes her sword and tries to cut her down, but Sid runs into the way to protect her. He gets cut down and pretty much falls and dies on the spot. The class president realizes that it's Sid, the owner of the biggest harem in anime. The class gets taken away, which Sid begins hitting himself and wakes up like the Undertaker. He quickly analyzes the situation and finds a way to negate the anti-magic. The entire place is on lockdown as the terrorists have taken over the entire school. Sid though is looking over Gotham City and begins flaming these guys for wearing all black in the middle of the day. So he puts them out of their misery. So after killing 20 terrorists in mere seconds, he spots Sherry being a minor. She thinks that she's being sneaky, but Sid has to help her out. Sid then jumps off the roof like a superhero and quickly dispatches as one of the guys to save Sherry. Sherry is so bad at sneaking around that Sid had to kill off the guy that was sneaking up on her. Huh? Oh, good. That was just my imagination. Sherry, in fact, is so bad at being sneaky, she almost ends up ending her own life. Luckily, Sid catches her. Sherry goes on a stupidly long rant, and after it's finally over, we get to see the villains being villains. One of the main baddies are walking down the halls, but all of his men gets kidnapped in a blink of an eye. Brother looks around but gets smacked in the face. He quickly gets up and puts up fishnets to protect himself. After explaining his powers to some random guy, Sid was actually inside and punches him into a wall. He is unable to recover as he gets kicked into another room. He sees one of his men dead and looks around to see hundreds of his men also dead. Sid appears like a menace and quickly kills him. The situation becomes intense as the students are still being held hostage and the guards and police can't really do much since all their magic has been shut off. Sid and Sherry finally manage to get the artifact that's gonna save everyone finished. But before they do, we get hit with a Sherry flashback where her mother, who was a researcher, was killed by an unknown man over some damn research. The grandpa was the only one to be there for her, and he was also the one who adopted her. Sherry and Sid part ways, and she makes her way down this hall and over to the stadium where the students are being held hostage. She spots the night guy with the artifact blocking magic, so she tosses it at him and allows everyone to fight back. A brawl quickly breaks out, and as the students get their magic back, I'm not sure where they got the swords, but it's better now to question anime logic. Class president tries to go after the evil knight, but gets surrounded by the enemies. Shadow though appears like Batman and raises her up before dispatching the terrorists. He summons his army of edgelords. He orders them to charge, and a big massacre ensues. As the bad guys are losing, the entire place quickly erupts into flames. Security finally arrives after everything was already dealt with. Princess Iris, the strongest swordsman, approaches the class president and asks what happened. Some edgelords appeared and started calling themselves Shadow Guardian. While Sherry is trying to find her grandpa, this knight is over here burning books. Sid suddenly appears and calls him out. You're Sherry's grandpa, right? How did you know? Well, one look and it was obvious. I see. You have good eye, boy. Can I ask you something? What is it? Why are you doing this? You really want to know? At one point in my life, I had reached the peak of swordsmanship, and there was no one left in my wake. This old man reveals his ambition for strength. He thinks that he's way too strong. He reveals that he was the one who killed Sherry's mother and stole her research. He only adopted Sherry to groom her. After sharing their ambitions, these two warriors face off. They unsheathe their blades and exchange blows, but Sid is the one who loses. I bid you farewell, Sid Kagane. Where do you think you're going? He turns back to see Shadow sitting there menacingly. Shadow gets up and approaches him, ready to destroy him. Bro realizes that he might be cooked if he doesn't use a power-up. He transforms into this Chinese master and charges him. He's super confident as he blitzes Shadow at lightning speed, but Shadow is unfazed. I'll admit, you're very strong indeed, and to show my respect, I'll kill you. Chinese master quickly powers up even further and blitzes Shadow, but the one who got cut was only him. He becomes shocked, and as Shadow asks if that was all he got, dude looks back like, damn, and blitzes Shadow again, forgetting that he's up against him. It's impossible for you to be this good. Well, it doesn't matter. It's over. I made sure you took the blame for everything that happened tonight. The entire world would be hunting you down. Sid just sighs and tells this villain that his army of edgelords and him aren't the good guys. The guy realizes that Shadow is actually him and dashes back and attempts to finish Shadow, but gets stabbed in the hand. Shadow slashes him over and over and over before reminding him of how he killed Sherry's mother, before stabbing this guy through the heart and finally finishing him. The old man realizes that Shadow is actually Sid before dying. As Shadow walks past Sherry, who just stumbled into this, she's reminded of the scene that happened to her mother. You're better off not knowing. After this, Sid and Sherry meet up. She's clearly hella broken and tells Sid that she's gonna go somewhere far away. As she's about to leave, Sid asks her what is it she needs to do.
It's a secret.
It's summer break and Sid is over here with his new girlfriend, Princess Class President. I actually don't remember her name, but she falls in love with him after he saved her. She found him in the hospital and clinged on to him ever since. Sid doesn't like her though and tries to avoid her whenever and however. He wants to stay a side character, so to do so, he must protect his virginity. So after a few days, they arrive at the land of magic, and after a few more dates, Sid encounters one of his elite glazers who offers him a book, and Sid reads through them to realize that she's legit stolen these from his world. world. This actually happened because he shared some stories from his world with Beta, which she turned him into real stories. During the night, Sid likes to act like Batman. Sid appears to violate this man, but another one of his Mii Riders appears, and it's Epsi, the girl who's got breast implants and a BBL, using Shadow's special slime. Her mouth doesn't move when she talks, her melon does.
Epsilon is a very proud woman. I can tell by the amount of slime she's piled onto herself.
Sid then goes to relax at a hot spring. Bro is actually jacked underneath. As he washes off and has a relaxing bath, he turns to Alexia, who is also here. She is very shocked, but Sid couldn't care less. She gets flustered and tries to cover herself, but Sid's nonchalant behavior actually pisses her off. Alexia actually attempts to recruit Sid into the nice club, but bro is very stubborn. I thought you would lust over me, but I see I was wrong. I make it a point not to look at people while soaking in a hot spring. In that spirit, might I ask you to stop staring at my Excalibur? Ha! You call that thing you have an Excalibur? I think the word you're looking for is worm. Huh. You mustn't judge a book by its cover. Brother gets up and says, you might come to find out what you thought was a worm was actually a great sword that was merely contained in its sheath. What do you mean?
When a holy sword is removed from its sheath, its sparkling blade is set free to plunder the Garden of Chaos.
Sid leaves and leaves her absolutely speechless. Hopefully I can blur all of that, but it's the day of the magical trial, where people step up and an ancient warrior will be summoned. There's a great prize for this, so everyone has high hopes. After 10 hours of everyone failing to summon any warriors.
I hope this will be over soon. After all that, it looks like someone named Anne Rose is the only one who managed to summon an ancient warrior.
Next, from the Midgar Academy for Dark Knights, Sid Kagano!
Next is a guy named Sid Kagano. That is such a background character name. Sid Kagano. Wait!
Sid tries to come up with a way to avoid the spotlight, so after coming up with two horrendous ideas, he decides to become him. A bright light appears in his freaking shadow. He pulls out a sword and everyone's super confused. He powers up and begins activating the most intense magic to ever exist. A freaking woman appears though, and it's not any woman. It's the Witch of Calamity, the strongest human to ever exist. The witch who could destroy the world. As they face off, the witch summons a bunch of blood spears and tries to rain on Shadow. She tries to hit him, but he avoids each one with ease. After dodging some more, he begins running across the barrier and is actually enjoying this fight. As the witch summons more spears, Shadow meets her eye and the fight is absolutely insane as she covers the entire arena with blood spears. He easily blisters her though and kills her. Without any explanation, Shadow just leaves and disappears. Everyone is super confused, but it's not over as this big red gate appears and covers the entire city. Shadow becomes Sid. He is already thinking about how smart his plan was to avoid the spotlight. A gate suddenly appears beside him. He wonders what the hell that is, but just ends up leaving. But it persistently follows him until he makes it to the forest and finally gives in. Sid enters the room and meets this girl. She gives him some compliments, but Sid though just wants to instantly leave. She suddenly asks him if he isn't gonna help a king in distress. Sid, like the gentleman he is, unsheathes his sword and cuts her free. They make a plan to escape this place, but they can't use magic, so this could be trouble. She walks him over to this little girl. This is a memory prison, so they smack the minor inconvenience. After doing this a couple more times, they get to this area where a holy sword is being kept. The witch explains that they have to break the chain and break the cord to escape, and Sid is about to do just that, but he decides to hold back a little. The witch tells him to come over here to pull this sword out, but Sid quickly realizes that he is not worthy. He's not no hero. As he steps forward to attempt to pull it out, he pulls on it so hard that it leaves a crack. The witch says the most obvious thing about the sword only being allowed to be pulled out by the hero. Sid pulls away, and they both realizes that they might be stuck in here until Sid decides to show off. But that's not gonna happen as this bald guy randomly appears. Sid notices an elf who looks exactly like Alpha. Bald dude begins arrogantly saying that he's gonna destroy them. This elf is a sword hero and she's extremely strong. So when they approach each other, the witch gets worried. Don't worry, kid. I'm him. They stand across from each other and the hero suddenly blisters Sid. The fight is so damn fast that we can't even see anything. The elf then appears and blisters him. Sid has no time to recover as he gets overwhelmed. As he tries to recover, she sends slashes at him. He manages to catch himself though, but gets caught smiling like a menace. Why are you smiling? Huh? What the hell are you smiling? The elf then instantly blisters him. As he dodges, he gets hit by her. Sid still manages to land without harm, but it is actually disappointing that his opponent is nothing but an emotionless shell. As Dude tells the hero to kill Sid, Sid's new kin runs over to him and tells him it's enough. She's acting like if she gives in, Sid is going to be spared. As these guys begin negotiating, Sid is like, bruh, why are you guys acting like I'm gonna lose? Fine, kill him. As Sid gets instantly killed, he grins like a maniac and Aikidos the girl, and then puts it into a chokehold and begins biting her neck. Bro begins literally sucking the life out of this chick. Blood begins gushing out and she is somehow killed just like that. Sid, are you some sort of dog? Bald guy questions how he even survived being stabbed, but Sid just makes up some BS to cover his paw armor. Sid approaches the bald guy, and as he surrenders, he says, "A win is a win. Congratulations!" sarcastically. "Oh, thank you, yay!" Dude then reveals that he has an army of women, maybe even more than Sid. Since Sid is without his maidens, he gets targeted by all of them. There is so many, and as they attempt to kill Sid, Sid suddenly activates his powers and instantly kills them all. Bald guy is like, "Bruh, how?" Sid is so much of a G that he was actually spending all that time countering the anti-magic. Bald guy orders his harem to kill Sid. As they appear and charge at Sid, Sid prepares to send these guys to heaven. Sid though isn't gonna let the title of the guy with the biggest harem go, so he suddenly activates his power and covers the entire place in his aura. The power is immense, and as he prepares to blow the place to bits, one of the elves stabs him in the heart.
Atomic.
Not only is the place blown up, but the entire city is engulfed by Shadow's immense power, which is so overkill. As you all know, Sid loves hoarding all the miners to himself, and after decimating the entire city to delete a random side character off the face of the planet, he wakes up in the witch girl's lap, which before he can react, she steals his virginity and disappears, leaving him traumatized. Now, Sid still has to be ranked at Menace tier list, and just look at this brother's kill count and miner count. It's off the charts. Even so, he still has more to collect, so he decides to join a random tournament, disguised as a guy with scoliosis. He visits his miners guild, and one of them attempts to ask him questions, which Sid quickly shuts her down and makes these perform cosmetic surgery on him. After putting on some clay, they ask Sid what he wants to look like.
"No, Chato, what do you want to look like? A Giga Chad?"
Nah, I want to look kinda weak.
"You want to look weak, my lord?"
One of the kins then suggests that this guy named Mundane Man, who looks like he works at Mappa Animations, should be Sid. After the surgery, Sid is pleased to look like a weakling. So after breaking his limbs and back, Sid then gets approached by his lost mom, cause she begins scolding him and calling him weak. I'm not interested. You're above 18. Sid ends up bumping into this guy named Quentin, who is also looking down on Sid's new appearance. "Look, dude, I'm just trying to save your life. You will survive the tournament if you join." The girl then walks over, which Quinn decides to stop caring and completely roasts our guy Sid. "You should know, I'm way stronger than you are." "Ahahaha, Quinn is calling you weak." Sid ends up getting punched by the guy, but this only causes him to have an inner monologue on how to absolutely violate this man. Sid though decides to wait for the tournament and play out his fantasies, so he begins getting his butt whooped, while everyone watches and laughs. Despite the beating, Sid doesn't give up. Luckily, the knucklehead is saved by the purple-haired girl. "Are you alright? I had no intentions of letting him go that far, but it was necessary to teach you a lesson. Here, let me patch you up." "There's no need. It's been a while since I tasted blood." As Sid decides to leave, she randomly gives her name, which is Rose, who Sid has his eyes on. After exchanging names, Sid meets up with his buddy, whoever this is. He's planning to gamble his life away and keeps asking Sid for money. Sid ends up leaving and bumps into class president. After sitting down, she reveals that her father is marrying her off to some random noble named Perv. Sid doesn't really care, but class president does, cause she loves Sid. After reminiscing, Sid gives her a hamburger and they part ways. The next day, Sid and his brother is watching the match. Side character here is gambling his life savings, which this guy with the name Ever Victorious Golden Dragon appears and tries to help this guy win some bets. He's able to see power levels and calculates the big guy at 1,000 while Mundane Man is only at 1, which suddenly Mundane Man wins. It all happens so fast that everyone is confused. Rose though was able to see the attack. Cody on the other hand plays off his mistake and tells Dude that he's gonna go up against Mundane Man and tells him to gamble all his life savings on him to win. "I'm back now."
"Hey, Sid, there's a fight that I know I'm gonna win, so give me all your money."
No way. The next day, Sid is woken up by terrible news that his kin stabbed her fiance to be with him. Well, I guess that would be a good thing, but she's on the run now. Even while at the tournament, Sid is worried about his kin, but he's so dumb that he doesn't realize his kin is in his stress and thinks she's just being a crazy maniac. Before his bro can ask him for money, he leaves and encounters this elf girl who can pick up the immense numbers of miners sent on him. After giving him a crappy description on who she's looking for, she expects Sid to know, but he doesn't even try to tell her the truth. "Oh, I see." She then aims for his throat, which Sid is confused but knows she'll stop right in time, so he pretends to fall back. "Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you'd be stronger." I'm Beatrix. She turns out to be a sword saint, but strangely, she's already fawning over Sid. Sid isn't into MILF, so she ends up walking off. Now, Rose and Quinn are trying to figure out what's up with Mundane Man. Goldie turns out to be a coward who always runs from strong opponents to stay undefeated, but Mundane Man is now about to run his fade. This fight soon begins and Goldie tries to cut his head off, but misses. He thinks that he's dead, but Mundane Man just pulls out his sword super slowly. Rose realizes that Mundane Man dodged that attack by cracking his neck, which she soon becomes obsessed over. As these two face off, Goldie begins ranting and roasting him. He gets angry that he almost died and decides to use a super overpowered move that gets instantly countered and his ass gets sent into the pavement. Whoa, what the hell did the Mundane Man just do? Well, if I'm correct, Mundane Man just sneezed and obliterated him. What? No way. The dragon clashed with the sneeze and the sneeze won? Rose ends up becoming a mundane glazer, which she soon prepares to watch Quinn get his hairline pushed back, which it happens so quick that he just gets buried headfirst into the dirt. The brother who's been gambling has lost all of his money thanks to Sid. Mundane Man encounters Rose and she begins acting like his stalker, which he just laughs at her. She then asks why it's so funny. Yes, here it is.
Allow me to give you a warning. These chains I wear are chains that hold me back. Playtime is over.
He tries to walk off all cool like, but Shawty is thirsty and stops him. To do what, you may ask? Well, to break her own neck, which even Sid is confused. While all of this is happening, class president is in the sewers fighting for her life to see Sid again. While he's over here pretending to play overpowered MC, who hides his power. Well, he kinda is already. Sid ends up waking up to another bad news. His brother is so down bad and broke that he's now trying to capture class president, who has a huge bounty on her head. Sid isn't interested though and doesn't realize the madness that is happening in this country. As dude is trying to convince Sid to give him money, Sid thinks about class president, but notices his precious big sister approaching. He quickly gets stressed and grabs his guy to escape his sister. By the way, I still don't know this guy's name. Sid wanders around the city looking for class president, but then hears his theme song being played by someone. As he wonders who's playing it, he discovers that it's one of his me writers, who's legit just completely pirated his stuff. Afterwards, they meet up and have tea. Turns out that this girl here, I think is Epsy, is using his knowledge provided in the past to monopolize it. After gathering some info, Sid leaves, but not after rizzing up some minors.
Your figure is lovely as ever, Epsilon.
You're too kind. Humble Epsilon is still nowhere near what she should be.
Class president is in the sewers, freaking dying. She's doing all of this for Sid, who gave her a hamburger wrapper. It was also cause she realized her father was being drugged by her fiance, and these guys are all cultists who have taken over the capital. As class president is hopelessly falling apart and losing her will to fight, she notices her hamburger wrapper that is still with her.
Oh, Sid, I wish I could marry you. If only fairy tales were real.
She notices that the pneumonic infection is spreading throughout her body, and none of her dreams would come true. Then suddenly, she hears piano. It's the theme song of him. She follows it to the source, and it leads her to a beautiful graveyard for statues. The atmosphere is absolutely ethereal, and she sees the man himself, Shadow. The music comes to a close, and Shadow tests her resolve to continue fighting for her future. He then offers his power to her, and she gratefully accepts. Not realizing with this, she too will become part of the Minecraft Players Guild.
Never forget, true strength comes from the heart.
Shadow leaves and the enemy begins surrounding her. They are fast, but with her new powers, she turns them into nothingness. Also, you know that piano that was there? Well, Sid randomly stole it and brought it down here to look cool. Sid is smiling to himself about the whole ordeal, but he encounters his sister, who looks at him with a horrifying expression. Now, Sid is always trying to avoid his sister, cause she's a brother lover. And now that she's caught him, it's all over for Sid, cause she's now on top of him, choking him out. So after some Alabama moments, his sister makes him sit at a VIP seat to make him watch her upcoming match. He encounters the strongest knight, Iris, and she ends up apologizing for her sister Alexia's behalf, which Sid then leaves to prepare for his match with Rose. He tries to pass Beatrix, but she calls him out for ignoring her. She ends up giving him some buns, and he returns the favor by giving her his buns. Mundane Man finally shows up to his next fight. Rose thinks that she can defeat Mundane, and as the fight starts, she dashes at him with lightning speed. Mundane Man though does a perfect parry, but Rose expected this and delivers a bunch of counter slashes. She attempts to overwhelm him and somehow manages to land a deciding blow, but Mundane Man appears behind her and tells her it was a freaking after image before disappearing and smacking her into the air. Rose then gets comboed mid-air and sent into outer space. Mundane Man then appears and smacks her back into Earth. She's like, damn, who made this guy the main character, and prepares to go all out. They have a standoff, which Mundane Man then disappears and she attempts to counter him and finish him. But Mundane Man somehow manages to stop just in time and she easily gets finished on. The red-haired chick, Princess Iris, is up next and she thinks that she can easily kill this overpowered side character. After the fight, Rose approaches Mundane Man all caked up. They end up shaking hands, which Mundane Man tells her that he has to go. Rose responds by telling him that he could get in bed with her anytime. Unfortunately though, they didn't get married because this gorilla just annihilated her opponent with one move. Sid returns home while thinking about how much of a genius he is. He doesn't realize his sister from Alabama is waiting for him again. Also, by the way guys, Sid's army of coal miners is at around 200 currently, and it's only the beginning. The final battle is coming up, which Sid is sipping coffee. Red-haired girl ends up leading Beatrix to sit alongside Sid, who wants to stay a side character, but is now surrounded by beautiful maidens instead of his usual miners. Does anyone catch your attention?
There's one. It's Sid.
Sid?
Sid? Sid has caught my attention. I'm sure he will grow stronger.
No, I won't. That's ridiculous.
This side character? There's no way he'll get stronger.
He doesn't even come close to being as good as his sister, Claire Cogano.
Cogano? You don't mean the son of that Baldy?
Well, if that is what the Lady Beatrix believes, then I am certain she must be right.
This country is quickly going downhill as the king is being used and drugged. The guy behind this is beginning to get worried that Mundane Man might cause a problem. Red-haired girl Princess Iris finally makes it to the ring in front of this infamous Mundane Man. As the match begins, her head instantly gets cut off. She suddenly backs away and rolls onto the ground. Iris is really confused and realizes that Mundane Man is so powerful that she's being killed without Mundane Man doing anything. She tries to overcome her fear and step into Mundane Man's range, but her ankle gets cut instantly. She realizes that this guy might be him. Her arm then gets cut and then her leg. To the audience, she looks like she's having a mental breakdown, which everyone begins doubting her, causing her to go absolutely berserk and go Super Saiyan. She charges at Mundane and realizes that Mundane never even pulled out his blade. Mundane Man then parried her before slamming her into the ground and putting a sword to her neck.
What's wrong, Swordmaster? We're just getting started.
As everyone is confused and in an uproar, class president comes back for her father. The perpetrator moves aside, which she knelt down and apologizes for everything. Her father then suddenly tells her that he forgives her. She then thanks him and dashes forward before killing him to put him out of his misery. What the hell? You crazy maniac! This is my official act as princess. Mundane Man suddenly appears and instantly slaughters everyone. He then transforms into Shadow.
But you can't be.
My name is Shadow. Wait, my name is Shadow.
The stylish bandit slayer.
Princess Class President then begins glazing this brother and telling her that she's been a simp since day one. In fact, she was the first miner in his army. Sid saved her in the past, which was when he was still calling himself Stylish Bandit Slayer. That goofy ass name. You have been the Stylish Bandit Slayer all along, haven't you?
Bruh, please don't remind me of that trash name.
After exchanging words of encouragement, Princess Class President runs away. As Shadow Garden has taken over, the Sword God Beatrix clashes with Sid, leading to the destruction of the entire stadium. As Shadow and Beatrix clash at lightning speed, they both jump back, which Sid, as he does, steps forward and in an instant appears behind her. Beatrix manages to block the attack but gets parried. Shadow just walks past her, which she is absolutely baffled. Shadow begins dominating her with his lightning speed, and after one last hit, she gets sent flying. She still manages to get up and asks,
You were standing right in front of me.
What's the matter? We're just getting started.
Suddenly, Iris shows up and tells Shadow she wants her wands back and begins unsheathing her overpowered blade. Shadow calls her out for using an artifact to get an advantage, causing her to get angry and activates this blade, which turns into a massive sword of flames. She wipes him out of existence, which Shadow suddenly appears behind her with a grin, but he once again gets launched with fire. As Iris thinks that she got him, Shadow reappears and thanks her for the light show. Beatrix then appears and begins clashing with Shadow, which Iris Iris quickly joins the battle. The fight ends up in the busy streets, which Iris clashes with Shadow and is actually keeping up with him. Beatrix tries to sneak him, but Shadow blocks it, which Iris takes advantage of this opening and smashes him into the building. Shadow though just freaking grins, and as Iris dashes in, Shadow spawns his crowbars and blocks both of these kings all at once. He then kicks Iris back into the abyss, which Beatrix and him begin fighting. The battle was so powerful and fast that it completely destroys the entire city just from their exchange. You can hear the screams of thousands of people being instantly murked. Beatrix lands on the train, which as Shadow does the same. Iris shows up and tries to sneak him again, but this time gets parried and ends up having to step back. The fight can be seen from space, which Iris is wondering who Shadow is.
Haha, everything but me is but a fake persona. I am Shadow.
Iris realizes bro is delusional and attempts to overpower him, but gets sent rolling back. Beatrix then comes in and asks if she can join his harem. Shadow though just says,
Haha, you have to prove yourself worthy of joining my guild of coal miners.
They see that this man is getting away, so they decide to follow him, but he begins using magic for the first time and sends a bunch of water droplets at them. Princess Iris though counters him by sending a blast at him. Shadow easily dodges this and contemplates what he should have for dinner. But these meat riders attempt to sneak him, but he just smacks Iris into the water and makes her wet. Beatrix and him are now fighting. She does something weird that instantly cuts his crowbars, which as Rose is peacefully sipping about the thought of mundane man, they appear and destroy the place. The entire tower is even taking damage. Beatrix thinks she has Shadow and attempts to cut him, but Shadow reappears behind her. This time though, she blocks it with ease.
You're pretty good, but you lack what truly matters.
Iris appears and tries to send him to hell, but Shadow devours her attack with ease. He sends Iris back before throwing Beatrix over.
You both lack balls.
The fight comes to a standstill, which Shadow dares them to come. Iris then does something that makes the animation turn into this. She tries to cut him down, but Shadow disarms her, and as she tries to eat him, he knees her in the chin. This was all a ploy to let Beatrix power up. Beatrix then lunges at him and manages to parry Shadow. She tries to finish him, but misses, giving Shadow the chance to grab her beautiful thighs and pick her up like the Undertaker and slam her onto Princess Iris. Shadow decides to turn these two into sandwiches and walks past them like they are nothing. He's pretty shocked that these girls can still move, which Iris tells him that everyone is his enemies, but she must now know that Shadow is that guy. He begins grinning and laughing like a literal menace, like a freaking supervillain, and after demonstrating that he's not a sane person, he says,
Run away? Who's running? Running where?
Why would I run?
Shadow prepares to delete the entire country off the face of the map and tells them that playtime is over.
Now observe my new kittens and witness for yourselves my earth-shattering, my sky-rending, supremely ultimate, mighty, unparalleled attack.
News appears about this, which Sherry gets wind of. She has turned completely crazy compared to the last episodes, and she's also now a yandere who wants to kill Shadow. Shadow though is peacefully hanging out with one of his buddies. The other one is in debt and working on a fishing boat. The side character reveals that Shadow is now being called Demon Shadow. Now the thing is, Princess Class President has joined the army of miners. Alpha the leader leads her to a secret city packed full of Shadow meat riders. Alpha then introduces her to this girl who will be training Class President into a good miner. The woman then deletes Class President's clothes, which I will blur. Class President tries to save the hamburger paper Sid gave her, but it gets freaking deleted as well. There is only one man in anime who, despite having over 666 maidens in the power to literally do whatever he wants, is still the stupidest overpowered MC to ever exist. After terrorizing the kingdom and disrespecting all of the strongest beings in that area, him and his gang of meat riders are having a meeting. They've all taken interest in this lawless city, which is the worst town you could live in if you're a normal person. As they're bringing this up, Shadow says, "I can smell it," which has these kittens panicking and spraying on perfume.
I can smell the potential to raise my harem to even greater heights.
Turns out though, Shadow didn't notice the Musketeer-filled room. Instead, he smelled all of the kittens in need of saving within the lawless city. The army begins discussing what to do, but Shadow tells them to let him handle the money, this matter. So Sid soon shows up at the lawless city, but with his sister from Alabama, who is dragging him like a dog. Sid is mostly here to mess around as he thinks that everything is a freaking game. He didn't want to come with his sister, but they did go on a romantic date beforehand, so he's stuck here with her. Hello, my beautiful young lady. You mean me? Yes, you. The most beautiful lady in the world? Well, you have a good eye. Sid calls this brother out for meat-riding his sister, but she begins strangling him. The guy here is actually trying to sell her some slaves who look rather familiar. Before Sid can figure out who these guys are, his sister begins dragging him around the city again. Can you stop dragging me around? Well, if I don't keep my hands on you, you'll get lost. No, I won't. Yes, you will. No, I will not. I know for a fact you will. And I did. Sid has finally escaped his sister, but as he's enjoying his perk bun, a pickpocket attempts to steal his wallet, but he steals from them instead. He finds out about the unlimited money hack and is now carrying around a pile of wallets. He notices some thugs beating up a vampire, which is very normal in the city. Sid watches this nonchalantly, and like you guys, he's also wondering where he will be placed in the Menace NG tier list. But as he's about to make a move, a red-haired woman notices him and steps in and one-shots all of these monsters. You are? My name is Mary, the ancient vampire hunter. Ancient? Run, if you value your life. If you value your life, run? The frenzy has begun. The frenzy? The moon is red. We are out of time. We are out of time. Now, you might have realized by now, but Sid is absolutely delusional and thinks all of this is acting. So he decides to go around the city copying the vampire girl. Before that though, his buddies are in the red light district trying to lose their V card. But God didn't want them to become men, so a group of vampires appear. This woman, who's a prostitute, is wallowing in misery and hears chaos suddenly happening outside. Who's there? I'm not taking any more customers tonight. As she thinks that she's about to get her cheeks clapped, Shadow freaking blisters in and destroys the old man.
Run if you value your life. The frenzy has begun.
Frenzy?
The moon is red. We are out of time.
This woman tries to ask this brother for his name, but he keeps repeating the same damn thing over and over again. She doesn't realize he's delusional though and decides to abandon her life of being a stray kitten and instead become one of Shadow's biggest meat riders. One of her co-workers run in to find this man cheeks in the air. After telling her what happened, the co-worker tells her Shadow is a bad guy, but that doesn't sway her and decides to abandon her life of selling her body and being at 304. Sid's buddies though are running for their lives, not from the vampires. They just don't want to die as virgins. Don't worry, my friend, I will never forget your virginity. Hey, wait up! Don't abandon me here! I love melons! Shadow begins going around the city, saving kittens in distress and saying the line he stole from the vampire girl over and over again. Which as the two big rulers of this city are fighting and wiping out the population, Shadow appears like a freaking demigod and crashes into the ground like a superhero before saying his infamous line,
I am Shadow. I hunt the shadow.
By now, it's not even corny anymore or edgy. These guys are surprised, but Barbarian doesn't really care and just smashes his way through the wall. He pauses though when Shadow begins repeating the same line over and over again. This side character begins crapping his pants, but when he sees Shadow, he begins laughing, thinking that Shadow isn't him. But before he knows it, he instantly dies.
The moon is red. We are out of time.
What in the actual... Now, Shadow's army has fully infiltrated the entire place. Same with the witch girl and his sister from Alabama. After almost getting into a fight with the meat riders, Sid's sister is trying to find his brother, who she thinks was kidnapped and brought here. The vampire girl and Claire, who is Sid's sister, are eradicating each vampire they see, which as they walk up the stairs, they feel a massive shake, which is this guy, who is squashing these powerful vampires like insects. Even the vampires themselves are scared of these guys. These girls spy on him, wiping the table with these weak vampires. As they are glazing at him, he suddenly disappears and smells the kittens out. He punches Claire into the pavement before sending the other one into a pillar. But as he's being overconfident, Claire stabs him in the leg. Claire manages to dodge his attack after, which she sees that the vampire is about to die. She tries to heal her, but she refuses. Vampire Hunter though decides to randomly steal Sid's sister's V card. Claire freaks out, but Vampire Hunter awakens and walks over like she's really about to do something. As she clashes with the Barbarian is still far stronger and smashes the ground to distract them. As they are distracted, he appears behind to wipe them out. I'm sorry, Sid. Shadow then suddenly appears and steps on his blade before kicking this man off the map. After saving them, he decides to keep repeating this line. The frenzy has begun. We are out of time. After meeting the most delusional man in the world, the two girls are flustered after making out in the middle of the fight, which Vampire Hunter explains the reason why the Lawless City is such a crappy city. Pretty much the vampires used to hunt the humans like animals, but they soon got folded by the humans. The Vampire Queen is like, damn, I'm kinda a coward and I also want peace. So let's just live in harmony with the humans. All the vampires agreed and they soon became human and even got along with normal humans. The queen though was the only blood junkie left who still craved blood, but just as she created the haven, the blood moon came, which after tasting a single drop of blood, she went mad and began slaughtering all the humans and even attacked the nearby kingdoms, which after 3 nights of slaughtering people, she ends and told this vampire hunter, Mary, to turn her into ashes. But Mary refused, to which the other vampires killed her and decided to now revive the queen of vampires. After that backstory no jutsu, Shadow barges into the treasury and begins looking through everything. He sees a bunch of gold and decides to stuff it somehow all into his jacket. He then decides to show up to this fight early, and as this vampire is trying to revive the queen, Shadow appears behind him and sends him to hell. Dude gets instantly killed and Shadow repeats his line once more. Shadow is quickly confused as the boss was seemingly defeated in one blow. He begins wondering if there is no boss and if this was just a zombie apocalypse. He leaves, which a flower begins growing. Sid's sister and the vampire hunter appears. They attempt to find Sid, but as she's complaining, a giant tentacle pierces her heart and kills her. She gets lifted up and it is revealed that it's the vampire queen who has just awoken. The vampire queen pulls Claire in and begins feasting on her as well. Damn, Sid's sister is getting passed around by these vampire girls. She's dead now though, which the meat riders rush in to save Claire from the vampire queen. They manage to get away and Beta sends a sword into her head that explodes into her face. The Shadow Edgelords attempt to heal Sid's sister, but this is a huge problem as the vampire queen has already healed and is now about to run their fade. These girls dash at her and they clash at crazy speeds. As they attempt to ambush her, she blocks it with ease, which as Beta comes in and slashes her arm off, she then throws a bomb at her that decimates the area. Vampire Hunter though begins glazing her queen. The vampire queen suddenly activates her final form, which the mummy of stray kittens appears and instantly thinks about retreating from battle. Barbarian though appears and attempts to punch the vampire queen, but he gets smashed into the ground. As they are arguing, vampire queen then activates a barrage of blood spears that decimates everyone. Barbarian is about to die and the super stray kitten begins flaming him. Everyone is badly injured, even Shadow's meat riders are. Beta realizes that the vampire queen isn't slowing down at all. She is actually only getting stronger. Beta tells Princess Class President, who is now a full-fledged Shadow Glazer, to escape with Sid's sister. As Beta attempts to prepare an attack, the vampire queen does something that activates their dormant demonic possession. This scares Shadow's kittens and they begin losing themselves. Even Claire is transforming. Everything is dire, which Claire wakes up in the hospital and she for some reason is in this swimsuit. She meets the Witch of Calamity, whom Shadow defeated before. Claire though doesn't understand what she's spouting about, but the only thing she needs to understand is that this witch is a max level Shadow Glazer. The witch tells Claire that she's the most important thing to Shadow, so incest is okay. The witch then appears in Claire's place, which shocks Beta. She explains that she's just borrowing her body. Her minions though are a little too big, so she prepares before heading into battle. As the vampire queen attacks, she easily stops the attack and takes control of the blood and sends it back into the vampire queen. The vampire queen though doesn't stop attacking, which impresses the witch. They begin clashing like Dragon Ball Z characters, which these side characters realize that they aren't crap. The witch is winning, which she suddenly covers the entire place in a magic that seems very familiar. She's attempting to copy Shadow and use her power, but her arm suddenly rips apart. She's unable to use it and has to recover. She turns to Beta and tells her that she was just buying time for Shadow to arrive, which he finally does. When he does appear, the entire place almost breaks and the land is suddenly littered with gold. The vampire queen though instantly attacks him, not realizing that this is him. As he counters and attacks, she counters back and overwhelms him. They exchange blows, which Beta notices Shadow not moving. As she's thinking, the queen's attack almost hits her and another kitten. She realizes that Shadow is protecting them. That is why he's not instantly finishing the fight. But she got it completely wrong. It's actually cause he's carrying a bunch of gold and doesn't want to lose any. It doesn't matter who I fight. I won't allow myself to lose a single one. Beta notices the gold, thinking that it's just part of the anime effect. But it's actually cause all of his gold is being destroyed, which angers him deeply. As this last one breaks in front of him, he activates his full power and appears in front of the vampire queen. He pulls out his blade, which the vampire queen does as well. Him and the vampire queen disappear and begin clashing flashing at immense speed. It causes the entire place to light up in explosions. These two rulers begin glazing him as he meets the vampire queen's attack head on. He gazes into her eyes and decides to prepare to finish her. Would you be so kind to tell me your name, my good sir?
I am Recovery Atomic.
The battle is over, which the barbarian is thinking of picking a fight while drinking. His homies are traumatized from being touched by the rogue vampires, and the guys Sid beat up before lost all their dignity after that day. Then there's Sid's sister. My arm is tingling. It's true. I must have a special power. Is my life destiny trying to guide my life in a certain direction? Well, it looks like his sister is becoming just as delusional as he is. Even he begins worrying, but realizes that he's also went through this phase. Sid, I think I should tell you something. The thing is, I think there are some special powers that have taken root in my left hand. I think I'm the main character. Yep, she's delusional. Sid, though, decides to support her anyways. They end up holding hands and living happily ever after in Alabama. But he can't settle down yet cause he's broke again. He was trying to sneak off with all the gold he collected, but during the fight, he lost all of it and only managed to save a few. So to make up for this, he meets up with the king and queen, who clearly want something. While this is happening, Shadow's kids are being attacked by some bandits. They're acting weak, but after finding out what they're supposed to, they brutally jump the bandits. Right now, the army is protecting and growing their business, called Misogoshi, who are the most powerful and biggest company in the country. So there are quite a few people who want to take them down, including their own leader, Shadow. Sid is now dealing with his side character friends, who thinks that wearing a Misogoshi shirt and hoodie will get them girls. Too bad Sid hoards all of it. I can't blame him, since these two are wearing off-brand Misogoshi stuff. The two realize that they have been swindled, since the brand is so popular now that other companies are copying them. Sid is the only one here wearing the real thing. I'm sure his kins who own Misogoshi knitted it for him themselves. He notices that Misogoshi is taking over the culture. Now, everyone is stripped out. His kins have created something amazing, but Sid doesn't seem very happy about it. Where are you going? Dropping a crap? Nah, I'm just gonna reclaim what's mine. Every bit of it. What was that about? No idea. Does he know that he's just a side character like us? Shadow is now gone, and there is now a new massive power that has unknowingly emerged. Welcome, my dear Shadow. I have forsaken that name. John Smith has decided to betray his own harem and partner up with this prostitute. This woman wants revenge on her ex-boyfriend, which I don't understand why John entertains this crap. But the dude's name is Gaeten, who better prepare that hole for the whooping that's about to hit him. As John leaves, he says that he'll destroy everything and build it up all again. The next day, there's a sale going on, which Sid's friends are trying to join the sale, but get smacked and beaten up by the crowd. Sid here realizes that his girl Alpha, who is the leader of Misogoshi, has gone too far in his opinion, seeing as they've created a bunch of enemies for being too powerful. But that's okay, cause Sid here will destroy Misogoshi and use the money he'll be stealing from his own harem to create a new company and invite his own girls back. He's pretty much jealous of Misogoshi and his girl's success and wants to take over and become the head. But the problem is, he's already the head. He just never realized it. As these boys are buying some stuff, they receive a bill that looks rather off. Sid finds out that Misogoshi has its own bank, and this blue one is a rival bank that is attempting to compete with Misogoshi. Misogoshi was the first to invent banknotes, which is cause Sid decided to share some knowledge of banks with them from his world and didn't even think that they turned it into a multi-billion-dollar company. Now, these copies are really trying to copy Misogoshi's, but they are really trash at it. Seeing this, Sid pauses and begins delusionally mumbling his new idea to himself. His friend asks for his money back, but Sid runs off with it. John Smith begins talking to this fox girl about how paper money isn't worth anything. Paper money only holds value if the money circulated never increases. But what if it does? Wouldn't that mean that paper money that are used to be exchanged would be completely worthless? Each time money is printed out of nowhere, if the amount of gold in assets stay the same, but the paper currency is increased, this would mean inflation. And if pushed far enough, it will create a collapse. Hopefully I explained that well. John Smith shows her these papers and lets her know that it'd be very hard to print Misogoshi's, but it'd be easy to print and make counterfeits of the other crappier bill of their rivals. This will still cause a collapse and create distrust in their paper currency. The king, though, suddenly questions the stupid plan and tells him that the paper blue money of Misogoshi's rival is only in circulation within the capital, and that they would get caught if these were printed in masses. Is that really what you think? John Smith realizes that he might be a dummy, but Fox Girl begins to doubt herself now that she's in the presence of him. She then comes up with a random conclusion. Maybe the point is to get caught, so they can create distress and chaos within the economy.
That's what you've been planning all along.
Is that really what you think?
Yes, it is what I think.
That is exactly right.
This plan is utterly flawless.
So after saving his reputation, John Smith steps out and feels like he just barely dodged being discovered as an idiot. Sigh. He was testing me. John Smith, the man formerly known as Shadow. While Misogoshi is obliterating their competition, Sid is enjoying some ramen. He's here with his puppy here, who wants all of his food, which after finishing dinner, he carries her home to play patty cake at home. But she picks up a scent that isn't the usual minors that he's always covered in. You smell the other meals. I was out. Visiting the retirement home. She's barely wearing anything, so I can't show you, but she begins twerking on his back before jumping onto him. She reveals that Alpha, the leader of his harem and best girl, sent her to hunt down any rivals or bad guys. She doesn't realize that Sid has become their biggest enemy now. Sid manages to distract her by reminding her that she has to go see Alpha, but she begins pouting that he doesn't want to hang out with her. He eventually gives in and hangs out with her. When I say hang out, I mean slaughtering a bunch of bad guys for fun. Shadow, as he's investigating some goods, sees Delta, the wolf girl, being spoken to by one of her past members. It's me, don't you remember? You smell like dad. Turns out, Delta used to be part of some wolf tribe, but after getting infected, she was hunted down by her own father and somehow survived. Luckily, Shadow saved her. Delta is the best at hide and seek. Delta? Is that what you call yourself now? Anyways, you can let me go, right? As he attempts to brag about working for Godson, the oldest and strongest brother of their tribe, she kills him with her overly sharp tail. I don't want a weak brother. Are you sure you wanted to do that? Weaklings bring shame to the family, boss. Okay. Delta's daddy is the chief of the clan and has lots of levels and over 1,000 children to take care of. I guess one less doesn't really mean anything. Shadow figures out that the Fox Girl and Delta are part of a similar species. It's just that Delta is many times dumber. Maybe I should visit sometime. Haha, I just had a good idea. You could be our chief, boss. What? You could be our chief, boss. If you be my dad, you'll become a chief. Then you can have lots of babies and we'll become the strongest. That is not happening. Yes, it is. Delta will get you 1,000 women and Delta will have 100 babies. Shadow has enough of women, so he decides to decline the kind offer for now. The Shadow gang is doing well and has no clue that their boss has betrayed them. A visitor arrives, which this girl wants to deal with them. The others look at her with confusion, cause this girl is the most clumsy person ever.
Well, I'm sure it will be fine. She is 17 years old after all. What? What? What?
The invaders manage to sneak in, which as they are about to make a move, they are greeted by Shadow's most trusted kittens. These guys are suddenly attacked and quickly dispatched, which Luna here decides to fold his brother as he appears behind her and smashes her head in. Wait, her head was actually so damn hard that he broke his hand. She becomes very angry that he didn't follow the usual plot of the anime. As she confuses him, she pulls out some dark blades and begins thrusting it into him. He isn't into being pegged, so he manages to dodge it all. But she suddenly activates this blue thing. She's surprisingly strong, but also really trash at fighting, cause she is trying to thrust dude into another dimension. He dodges all of her thrusts, which after managing to avoid his cheeks being taken, he tries to slash her head off, but the freaking blade breaks instead. He dashes back and sees her crying like someone just scolded her. What the hell? Why isn't she dying? You are quite the fierce warrior to be able to land such a good hit on me. Luna then does a serious thrust at him, but he manages to avoid the absolute destruction. But she suddenly prepares to finish it by thrusting even harder at him. After harnessing her daddy's aura, she begins destroying the entire place, which as she's in a mid-swing, she trips and almost destroys the entire place. Well done, good sir. That was very clever of you to set a trap beforehand. What? I didn't do anything. He decides to leave, but finds his boys all knocked out. Be careful, you two. This man standing here is ultra powerful. He managed to survive my serious thrust, so he must be one of the main villains. I must say, that's very impressive. No, I'm not. I'm just a random side character. Brother decides to leave while he can, cause she's clearly a maniac. But as he's running away, Luna trips and accidentally sends the sword into the guy's neck, obliterating him into nothingness. The boss of these guys are confused how his strongest subordinates are being wiped out. The dude is actually traumatized from the time this guy, who is clearly not Shadow, took his kin away from him. Sid, on the other hand, has been sparring with Alexia, who is not impressed that he still sucks at fighting. They go on a date where they hang out and ate each other's hot buns. She tries to speak about ambition, but Sid doesn't care, which causes her to just see him as a guy with no desire or goal in life. I clearly hope you can be that carefree your whole life. So after being called an airhead, John Smith is now enjoying some ramen at his favorite ramen shop. The Fox girl appears and orders some ramen before telling him that she's finally finished producing the counterfeit bills. She gets one of her young bloodiest to hand him the counterfeits for him to inspect. As he stares at them, clearly not knowing which one is real or fake, he laughs and throws them back at her to avoid choosing between them and making himself look bad. I don't need to point out which one is fake, do I? No, you don't. Obviously, the bill of lesser quality is the fake one. It appears you made them so well that you have surpassed the original in quality. I have not foreseen that. Shall I start over and make new ones? That isn't necessary. I doubt anyone but myself can tell which one is the real one. After going over the plan to get caught on purpose to disrupt the entire economy, she brings up her freaking ex-boyfriend again. Does she not see that there's literally a Giga Chat right beside her? Well, it doesn't matter cause hoes gonna be hoes. She reveals that her ex-boyfriend had killed their mother, her father, her entire village, and even tried to kill her, which isn't exactly accurate, but she pretty much became a max-level prostitute after just to get revenge on her ex-boyfriend. John Smith, though, warns her not to dive too deep into revenge. The Shadow Harem is now discussing the discovery of these new counterfeits that somehow came out of nowhere. They are confused why the rival would do this, since it would harm both Misogoshi and the rival themselves. If the citizens were to find out, it would cause a big distrust within the population.
Was that their plan all along? To create a credit collapse? But that would bring about their own downfall as well.
The Fox girl's boyfriend slash Misogoshi's rival now knows of the counterfeits. As he's inspecting them, even he can't tell the difference. That may be due to his blindness, because the guy who stole his kid cut his eyes out.
Which one is it?
Sir? Oh, of course. Yes. I believe it was the poorly made one. I think. Maybe. These guys were planning to bankrupt Misogoshi, but are now confused and wondering who's even doing this. Shadow's harem has finally decided to take action against the one behind this. These girls hop onto a train and sneak into it, harboring the counterfeits. As they walk, the girls point out how there are no passengers and also no guards. But one of them suddenly notices a string. But it's too late. They soon get hogtied and captured by the not so notorious John Smith. One of the girls try to cut themselves free, but the strings are surprisingly tough. Magic reinforced threads? Who are you? I am John Smith. He begins moving the strings to capture her, but she manages to dodge and blitz him. As she does, she gets easily blocked. He mocks her before hog-tying her as well. The harem has been captured by this new overpowered villain. He approaches them and pulls the strings before launching them out of the train. They report back to Alpha and she begins wondering who John Smith is, since he seems to be stupidly overpowered.
John Smith is above the most skilled of fighters. It was like he predicted our every move. Hey, you can't do that.
One of these kids begins glazing John Smith, which she gets dragged out of here before she can cause any more trouble. The head kins are super stressed and decide to send out one of the biggest menaces within the harem of Shadow. John Smith is now chilling while reading a book. He's still on this train and notices something moving within the snow. He sees that it's one of the Shadow Glazers, which he closes his book before she launches and smashes through the train. She attempts to attack him, but he easily blocks it. John Smith gets up nonchalantly and begins blocking Delta's attack by fingering the air, which she manages to send them away. John Smith then tries to capture her, but she jumps back and destroys the entire place. He's enjoying the battle, which she begins rushing him, but he covers the entire place in strings and manages to deflect her in quick succession. As she's stuck in rubble, John Smith appears and stands over her. The feat of a beast is to crawl along the ground. As he's having a villain monologue, she begins snipping him and suddenly breaks free and jumps at him. What brings you here anyways, Delta? Delta was hunting. Hunting what? John Smith. Boss is John Smith? Yes, I am. Delta can't beat John Smith. I'm gonna report back to Alpha. John Smith decides to distract her by saying that he's on a hush-hush secret mission, which she questions what he means. He begins telling her his delusional plan, which causes her to want to join and help him. No, this is only something that can be accomplished by a super secret agent. Now, don't report to Lady Alpha or anyone. She's reluctant to keep her mouth closed, but John Smith tells her, whatever Daddy wants, Daddy gets. He promises her that he'll do anything she says if she does what he says. So, he picks her up by the cake and carries her to the window before telling her to go hunt down a guy in a lawless city who is the barbarian from before. After mating and making babies mid-convo, Delta finally leaves and goes to slaughter the guy her master ordered her to. And Delta? We found this at the scene of what seems to be an intense battle. Luna found the hair of Delta that was cut off during battle. Alpha is absolutely shocked and struck by this news. She would never abandon a mission. A stupid mutt. She was stupid, but she never defied you. Okay, you didn't have to call her stupid. Continue the search. Hope to at least retrieve the body. The entire harem is now in despair about the news of Delta's death. Luna brings up the fact that the citizens have begun to notice the increased circulation of paper money. Luna and Alpha come to a conclusion that they must kill John Smith. Lady Alpha finally understands what John Smith is doing, which she vows to violate this man when she gets her hands on him. Now that John Smith has angered not only the waifu of Shadow, but also Fox Girl's ex, he better prepare for battle. The citizens have begun to doubt the companies responsible for the economy. Beta lets Shadow know about what's happening around the country, but Shadow is too busy doodling. Beta thinks he's taking notes, and even Shadow is distraught by the events. Beta reluctantly brings up the death of Delta. As she's tearing up, Brother almost dismisses her. He begins sweating, thinking of a clever lie, but ends up telling her that Delta got bodied and went to heaven. Yeah, of course. She's only went to a better place. My lord, John Smith is a very powerful fighter. If possible, Lord Shadow, we would like you to... Apologies. I have matters to attend to. As he's about to leave, he turns back to show her this encrypted message before ripping it out and handing it to her. If you manage to decipher the meaning of this lost text, I shall enlighten you. As John Smith is chilling on the train, carrying counterfeits, Fox Girl warns him about the roadblock ahead, but he tells her don't worry about it. As these guys are discussing if they should be doing this, the entire barricade crumbles and the train just passes through without a problem. These guys crap themselves while John Smith stands on the train like a menace. He notices someone standing in the middle of the track. Before he knows it, a woman appears, and it's one of Shadow's biggest simps, Alpha. She pulls out a sword and quickly clashes with him. She begins analyzing him, but he isn't very impressed. He then sends a bunch of wires at her, which they begin clashing at crazy speeds. She's somehow keeping up with John Smith. As she's fighting him, she begins to realize, hold up, this overpowered person seems very familiar. She then realizes that this is her Shadow. She dashes back and demands to know why he's doing this. Shadow! I have forsaken that name. Now I am called John Smith. You're what now? What are you doing? Delta. What has become of Delta? She asks that, but John Smith just tells her that he has sent her off to a far-off place, which shocks and confuses her. She then begins powering up and telling him that he makes no sense at all. Absolutely no sense. She tells him that she's not as great as him, but she still wants to support and understand his delusions nonetheless. She pretty much confesses her love for Shadow, who saved her in the past, but now is the one she's facing.
If it would serve you, I would. But then you go and does this mean you don't need me anymore?
Once it's all over, you'll understand. You'll know this was the best choice.
I won't be like this forever, you know. I won't keep dragging you down!
As she awakens, John Smith quickly ties her up, but she turns into flames and escapes with ease. As she appears and tries to ambush him, he deletes her arm, but they turn into flames, which brings her sword down on him. She actually manages to hit him. John Smith begins getting overwhelmed by her. Alpha begins treating this like a Power of Friendship anime, but John Smith blocks her attack before ranting and explaining how her attacks are trash. He then throws her into the air, and as she turns into flames and dashes at him, she powers up, but he says light work before stomping the ground and destroying the train. This sends her flying back, and he hits her with a powerful palm strike, which sends her away. She tries to reach out for her savior, but she crashes and is quickly abandoned. John Smith is now here at the underground lab, acting like he didn't just violate his own harem. Fox Girl has managed to trade in all of the counterfeits for real gold, so soon it's only a matter of time till the economy is collapsed. In fact, these two have emptied all the banks in the country. After causing inflation, Fox Girl decides to randomly activate backstory no jutsu. Once again, she talks about her ex-boyfriend and how they got married to unite the Spear Fox race and the Wolf race. She was happy to be with him, they loved each other, and everyone was happy for them. It was a wonderful time. That is until war broke out, and her entire village was burned to the ground. Her brother, father, mother were all killed. She then saw Gaten, her lover, who began berating everyone who refused to take the Viagra pills that the cult offered. Turns out, he was actually the one who killed everyone here. Fox Girl was in utter disbelief. He began talking about how he killed all her loved ones to protect her from the war. He then offered her the Viagra pills, which she loses it and tries to attack him out of confusion and pain. Which, for some damn reason, dude kills his own wife and leaves her laying on her mother. Which as he began to leave, she was actually still alive. She then heard this man being violated by someone who goes by Stylish Ruffian Slayer, who is definitely not Shadow. But from that day forward, she decided to become an OnlyFans model and said 20 bucks is 20 bucks. So after racking up a nation's worth of bodies, she became one of the strongest. As she continues her story, Fox Girl tells John Smith that she's gonna kill that bastard Gaten, her ex, which she decides to give him all the money and now heads off to beat up her ex-boyfriend. After this, they part ways. The entire economy is now screwed and Misogoshi in the harem is in deep despair and depression. Alpha is the saddest amongst them all. The leader of Misogoshi's business finds out that his ex-girlfriend was actually the one behind this, which as he's thinking, he hears the familiar bell. He orders the carriage to stop before pulling out his own bell. Big things are coming to the end, which Alpha here has no will to live anymore.
My lord, he has ascended to heights that only he can attain. He doesn't need me anymore.
Luna explains that the customers and citizens are all in uproar, and soon their thriving business will go bankrupt. As the collapse is happening, Alpha is fully dead and doesn't even listen to Luna, who is trying to come up with ideas to save them.
Forget it. It doesn't matter anymore. He's the one that put the counterfeit bills in circulation. He's the one who caused the credit collapse. This is what he wanted. He has forsaken us.
No way! He would never do that to us!
Luna tries to counter and tell her that Shadow would never abandon them like this. They may be kittens, but not strays. I'm afraid we failed to live up to his expectations, and this is the result. Alpha has fully accepted the fact that they have failed to appease their Lord and Savior, Shadow, which he has abandoned them now.
But in the end, we failed to reach his level. He has washed his hands of our incompetence.
As everything seems to be coming to an end, Alpha remembers her vow to Shadow, which suddenly one of the younger kins come in to see the most depressing stuff. Nonetheless, she begins talking about how Gaten, their rival, was planning to destroy Misogoshi, which Luna realizes and explains that Lord Shadow is such a genius that he foresaw this and went alone. Alpha's eyes light up and she begins to realize that Shadow might have never abandoned them. Alpha explains and also realizes that their rival never actually started their plan, which means that Shadow was the one who created this collapse. But to what end, she wonders. As Alpha is thinking hard, Beta comes in all excited and says she managed to decipher the code. Alpha takes them and quickly wells up with tears. She realizes that Shadow never abandoned them. In this note, he explains that he is sorry, but he has become a traitor. He began to tell them about his plan and that it was all for them. They begin tearing up and crying, seeing that Shadow was doing all of this for them. They prepare to go collect all the money stored in the place they all know. One of them asks about Delta, which Alpha tells them to calm down, which Delta suddenly appears and they are all happy to see her. John Smith, on the other hand, is massacring everyone he comes across. I've been really busy beating up all the bad guys trying to come after my money. I mean counterfeits. He is actually excited to hold all the earnings to himself. Since Fox Girl didn't want to cut, haha, he's already thinking about living in a luxury life. He can finally move out of his small apartment and eat 5-star meals every single... As John Smith is having a mental breakdown, the kins come running in, which as they bring up the name Gaten, he turns to them before mentally going insane and laughing like a maniac, cause his dreams of retiring in luxury is now gone. He begins going Super Saiyan and prepares to find this man. You will give it back! You will give back what's precious to me! Fox Girl and her boyfriend Gotten are now fighting. He's getting whooped by a woman and is now crying and screaming at her like a toddler. She's freaking disappointed as this man is clearly very desperate and delusional. Something changed you into something I don't recognize. She reminisces about the past, which she tells him that she still loves him. But as she begins walking away, he begins yelling and powering up, which he soon takes his Viagra pills before dashing at her and cutting her down like a coward. He stands over her and suddenly gets PTSD, which as he attempts to kill her, John appears and delivers a powerful punch into his face. It sends him crashing into a bunch of trees. Fox Girl sees that it's John Smith, who has come to save her. Gotten gets up and John Smith begins walking forward before blitzing him at light speed. I've come to retrieve something very precious to me. Gotten thinks that he's talking about the kitten, so he begins attacking John. They clash, which sends shockwaves everywhere. Both Fox Girl and Gotten think that John Smith is fighting for her, but nah, he's just trying to get his money back, not realizing that his meat riders are the ones who actually took them, which Gotten is sent into the snow and is now about to get folded. Come on, Todd. Surely you have something to say. Gotten glances at his ex-lover before yelling that he has nothing to say and tries to take another Viagra pill, but his head gets smashed in by John. He's pretty much finished, and after John pulled back, he gets grabbed and begins getting his ass beat, while John tells him to say what he wants to say. After getting beaten for hours, Gotten begins chuckling and points out that he is absurdly strong. It reminds him of that person. If only I had the power, maybe something would have been different. I only wanted to protect you. I only wanted to protect. I leave my precious Yuki to you. Before he dies, he tells John that his kitten fully belongs to him now, which John tells him that his treasure is in good hands, which he begins to walk over to this Fox Girl and hugs her. As she's sobbing, he touches her back before healing her injuries. She instantly recognizes it as the one who saved her before. She glances up at John and realizes that this is him, her savior, Shadow. Fox Girl returns to her crew of kittens, where she tells them that John Smith is such a compassionate man that he has gone to bury Gotten, which is not what's actually happening. Fox Girl is confused where all the money went. She meets Alpha and Beta, who end up convincing her to join. They reveal that Misagoshi is actually part of Shadow Garden, which shocks the Fox Girl. Misagoshi has recovered and saved the business thanks to Shadow. Everyone thinks that John Smith is digging a grave for Gotten, but he's actually just digging for the missing gold that was supposedly stolen. After spending hours digging, he realizes that he's screwed and that the harem is probably mad at him for not only betraying them, but also losing the gold that he was gonna use to swoop in and save the day. So to avoid responsibility, he disappears completely. Sid is now at this cafe having his coffee, with this girl who might look familiar because it's the prostitute from the beginning. She began working at this place after Shadow changed her life. Sid is reconsidering his life choices. He realizes he never really had a goal or image. He was always messing around. Some of Shadow's harem is here. They don't recognize Sid though. Class president is also here. As you know, she's part of the harem now. Later that night, she and a few of the harem are on a mission. She encounters like a super meat rider of Shadow. She tells class president that she's gonna kill anyone who isn't worthy of her lord's greatness, which might include class president herself. They spot carriages moving through the darkness and towards the ruin. They decide to follow. When they come to, they discover that it's the cultists who have gathered. They activate this thing where it covers the area. Class president then spots her mother, where she begins panicking and wondering why she's here. The mother touches the seal and reveals this demonic ring. Purple-haired girl lets them know it's time to move and retrieve that thing, whereas class president tries to stop her, not realizing that her mother is actually a traitor. Purple-hair doesn't want to hear it and jumps into the sky and then prepares to massacre everyone here. President though blocks her from killing her mother. She questions why she's attacking her mother, which as class president seems to have betrayed them. The enemy surrounds them. The mother begins clinging and saying that class president needs to save her. Purple-hair though can easily see it's obvious acting. She parries class president before punching her and sending her all the way back. The cultist steps in to protect the two, which purple-haired girl lets her know that she's not worthy of glazing Shadow's meat. After this betrayal, Shadow Garden's headquarters hears about class president's betrayal. While they are dealing with that, Sid is here at the cafe again. He's delusionally wondering what class president is up to. He actually wants her to become a tyrant queen, so he can swoop in and save the day. I wonder if I should step in and help out. Thank you for your offering, Sid, but I think I'll be fine without any help. Sid has no grasp of reality, since he's already dying to see his plans in action. It's delectable. I get it. I'll get you another one. As this is happening, the door slams open, where these three come in and begins asking for money. They forcefully take her earnings, even after taking all of it yesterday. Shut your pretty little mouth. You know I wouldn't mind if you paid with your body. Whoa, man. Save some for us. Stop.
Leave her alone. Please.
That was hilarious. The weakness of youth. Let's take this money and grab a pint.
Sid ends up getting his ass literally beaten, which this girl comes and checks up on him. Sid apologizes for failing to protect her, which she says is okay. Her life was already trashed before this. Sid later recovers and tries to repay her, but she rejects and tells him that she wants to see him again. Sid walks through the night and reminisces about the things he's done. He's played out his fantasies of being a prisoner and also became a random adventurer. As he's disappointed about one of his stories, he overhears the guys from before who robbed the poor girl, which as these guys are talking about the war and the ruins that contain a bunch of treasure.
Yeah, apparently they found an enormous treasure in the ruins on the other side of the mountains.
Treasure?
Don't even think about it. Ignorance is bliss. The higher-ups have been acting really weird these last few days. If we want to get out of this alive, it's about time we get while the getting's good. That reminds me, on our way out, why don't we pick up a few women as souvenirs? How about that girl at the inn? Huh?
Dude realizes too late that his fellows are dead. Sid loves it here, cause he can kill anyone and do whatever he wants. So he quickly kills them and leaves. This girl is now wondering how she'll pay for her expenses now, which as she instantly thinks about resorting back to prostitution, she suddenly overhears something outside the door. She opens it and comes to find that it's money. Before she can think, she spots Shadow and realizes that he's been watching over her. She begins praying to him like he's Jesus. One of Shadow's most loyal servants though are battling the cultists. She's been fighting and slaughtered them for 3 days and 3 nights tirelessly, which she's tired and has lost her arm as well. The guy approaches her and quickly kicks her to the ground before telling her that he's not gonna kill her. Instead, he's gonna slowly torture her and her team. But these are Shadow's kids he's speaking to, which as he explains that he's won. Purple-haired girl sees Shadow's reflection on the blade of her enemy.
Can climb above Perv asshat and be the next knight of rounds. Huh?
It's you. You have come to save my life again?
Cultist boy here begins crapping himself, which she begins glazing her master before slaughtering this boy and turning him into a pile of blood. Now that Shadow is here, everything is under control. They wonder why the great lord they worship is here personally. Shadow is pretty much treated like a god by these girls. Is the ruin still here? I'm afraid I must report. It's about the traitor, number 666.
Who the hell is that?
Shadow doesn't even keep track of his harem, so he's completely confused and begins misunderstanding the situation. The other miners are wondering why purple-haired girl wants to kill number 666, so she tells Shadow that it's because of the key. Number 666 also betrayed them. Now, somehow, Shadow doesn't know about Princess Class President being part of this harem, but when a slip of paper falls into his hand, he becomes super enraged that Princess Class President is getting married. To him, this is true betrayal. Once a me rider, always a me rider. While the kings are confused and purple-haired girl is happy, Shadow blasts off into space like a superhero. He questions why she's given up on her delusions. It's lonely up here. He needs a fellow overpowered idiot. This white-haired girl who trained Princess Class President is now here to take responsibility and punish Class President. But these kings tell her that won't be needed. Even the elite me riders have no authority over this anymore, cause he's on the case, which they begin praying for her, cause she's likely to die. Sid is now in the main city, where he's thinking about confronting Class President, cause he's a greedy man. No sharing, no caring. FC suddenly appears while she's thinking about doing something crazy. Now, Sid cannot focus at all with FC's fake melons moving around. She's purposely moving it and putting a ton of effort into this one thing. Is something on your mind?
I guess. I'm thinking about the fruits of all your efforts.
Oh, stop. I have so much more to learn. Epsi turns serious and begins explaining that they have successfully infiltrated the castle. Perv appears and begins talking about Epsi. Since she's a famous piano player, he's excited to hear her pieces. As Sid is trying to act like a background character, Perv asks who this black-haired, plain and goofy-looking guy is, which Epsi wants to call Sid her master, but introduces him as her apprentice. They are surprised that Epsi has taken a liking to anyone, since she doesn't usually glaze anyone. Perv says new people aren't allowed in, which she wonders if they should leave, but Perv says nah, and demands Sid plays something for them. They were planning to embarrass this brother, but Sid decides to get a little serious. He arrives at the piano, where Epsi is being a fangirl as always. Sid begins playing the piano, which attracts more miners from even the other side of the castle. Everyone is in awe and speechless. Sid though begins robbing these fools blind, since he is completely broke. After he's done playing, everyone claps and is very impressed. Perv attempts to acquire Sid's identity, but Epsi steps in and covers for Sid. Sid wants some more jewelry, which he spots something in Perv's pocket, so he decides to steal it and pocket it for himself. He later inspects the ring, before asking Epsi to show him around, which as Epsi is speaking and trying to charm our brother Sid, this random stray miner appears and butts in. Let me show you around. I can go by myself. I'm Margaret. Nice to meet you. Epsi sees her Lord and Savior, Sid, the background character, getting charmed by another woman. She gets outraged and obviously tries to step in and protect him. But as she does, Sid notices this maid's melons are rather big.
Miss, would you kindly stop?
Slime content.
Huh?
0%, huh?
Epsi completely disappears after this, which Sid now has this solo Minecraft player clinging onto him.
You know, I have to tell you, I was so touched by your performance earlier. I'm sure you'll be a top-class pianist in no time.
Hold up, what? The maid begins talking about money, which catches Sid's attention. She then says she wants him to be part of her family. As she's flirting with Sid and holding his hand, Sid manages to slip free and asks where class president is. But the maid is not very fond of her and blames everything that has happened on Princess Class President herself. I should stop calling her that, cause these guys have stopped going to school a while ago. I think so at least. As Sid is trying to sneak away from the girl, he encounters this McDonald's enjoyer. You can obviously tell he loves his Big Macs. He begins lecturing this brother for pulling all the beautiful ladies in the capital. Even the girl he loves has fallen for him. Brother hits Sid with this how I met her story jutsu, which turns out to be this is how I stalked her jutsu. Sid sneaks off. I will say that I read the manga and this was completely different, because the McDonald's enjoyer, who was actually extremely buff and was a Giga Chad. As the Princess Rose is having an inner monologue, Sid appears and she runs to him. She misses him a lot, which he raises her up. They soon sit down and he tells her that he snuck in to confront her about her marriage, but she doesn't want to talk about it and tries to pull away. I'm going to marry Perv. Lies! Sid tries to convince her while he has a mouthful of chips. This sad moment gets completely ruined by bro eating chips while giving her the me and you, we are the same, we need to stick together talk. He vaguely explains his dream while eating another chip. She thinks that it's about him marrying her, which she tells him that she will support him even if the world rejects him. Sid confronts her why she is going back on her actions and marrying the person she hates, but she says she has nothing to say and tells him to leave her behind. The day turns into night where Perv confronts her. When he tries to touch her, she slaps his hand away and attempts to, she's now being freaking strangled. Turns out Perv is holding her mother hostage, which is why she's being so submissive. Sid is still here snacking. He decides to help her out and inspect the ring before leaving. The king Epsi and Purple Hair are now explaining Princess Rose's situation, where they say that their master has not punished Rose. Instead, looks like he's helping her. They are still trying to acquire the ring. That is absurdly dangerous. It once wiped out an entire continent just from activating it. This must be stopped. But Sid suddenly appears nonchalantly, which he gets offered coffee milk, a freaking massage, and lastly some cold fruits. They all see him as a Giga Chad. He suddenly says that he has completely dealt with everything. This amazes the girls. The next day, Sid is sipping coffee and thinks about saving Princess Rose, which as he does, this kin sits down beside him and tells him that she lost him yesterday and couldn't sleep at all cause he wasn't there. You know, Sid is pulling these girls without any effort. Someone has to nerf this guy. She tells him about her McDonald's enjoyer, but Sid doesn't care and just wants to leave. He tries to pull away, but this girl is a demon. She begins talking about keeping stalkers away from him, and the other girls as well. But Sid knows that she's the only stalker following him. As she's bad-mouthing Epsi, Epsi appears and these two begin fighting over Sid. He's stuck between the two until he's not. He manages to escape and begins playing piano for everyone in his boxers. Later, Epsi and him finish their daily cardio, where she brings up the Black Rose, the thing that destroyed a continent. Sid though thinks that she's talking about the band of mischiefs that he randomly abandoned, but he tells her that he wants to see the Black Rose for real. She's shocked and comes to the conclusion that just let this brother cook. He never misses. Sid is now walking and snooping around. He comes to find out these two are getting a little too friendly with each other.
You're the only one I love, Cupcake.
You'll kill her off, right? And marry me.
Of course, my Pokey-Poo. Sid is surprised that this has turned into a twisted affair, where he decides to help Princess Rose realize what is happening. Princess is now in her room. Her maids hate her and storm out. But after Rose approaches the window thinking that Sid has returned, she feels his presence and panics when she sees Shadow sitting before her. She loses it and thinks that he's come to kill her, which she pulls out a blade, but knows that it isn't gonna do anything. She apologizes and lowers her head in shame, but Shadow places his coffee down, gives up, and tells her to come. He'll show her the truth. I can't show you this, but Perv and Princess Rose's mother are now playing Smash Bros in bed. It's one of their favorite games. Princess Rose is absolutely speechless and begins throwing up, sobbing and choking. You needed to see the truth.
No, you're wrong. Rose is in denial and continues throwing up while Shadow is over here giving her a villain speech.
Rise, tyrant. The time is now. Make your enemies pay.
When he turns back though, he finds her passed out. It seems like she's completely given up on life. Shadow feels bad, so she's taken back to her room, where she is absolutely disgusted and wonder what was the point of all the sacrifices she made along the way. She's now wishing to go back to simpler days, where she could be with Sid, and he didn't want to be with her. He begins hearing something though. It's the theme song of him. She heads outside and finds that Sid is here, playing the song of him. Princess Rose has become completely hopeless and says that they should run away. He's the only thing she has left, but Sid hits her with something else, a speech of the ultimate edgelord. I divided the world into things that matter and the things that don't. After this legendary speech, Sid disappears like he was never even there. Rose comes back to reality. She notices a ring and lifts it up towards the moon. She thinks it's a gift from Sid, but he accidentally dropped it and was unable to find it. Sid is taking a bath now, which Epsy is here to help him relieve the tension from the battle. He compliments her slime melons. Seems like she's happy that he doesn't judge her. Sid explains that he has given Princess Rose the ring that will bring the end to this country. The entire country is in chaos, and guards are firing bullets into their citizens, which Perv is over here thinking that everything is going according to plan. He picks up his box containing the ring. Turns out that the king had transferred ownership of the ring to his daughter to mess with Perv, but it doesn't matter anymore. Everything is going according to plan since he will soon be part of
Rounds. Now I too will be part of Rounds. Part of Rounds. Shit.
Perv realizes that he is screwed, which as he is panicking and trying to find the important ring that has somehow gone missing, his boss calls him and tells him once he has given Rose the ring, he will be promoted to the top. As he disappears, Perv is dying of stress. He tries to get himself to calm down, but Princess Rose has now appeared to marry this bad guy. She approaches the stage, which Perv is over here, panicking and checking his person. Perv, do you take Princess Rose as your wife and vow to stay together in sickness and in health?
Yeah, I do.
Princess Rose, do you? I do not. Perv is outraged and confused. Rose though begins accepting responsibility and says while she did do many things wrong, she knows what she must do. She must get rid of this scum called Perv. He approaches and smacks her.
Be a good little girl and marry me.
He tries to use his hostage while Rose declares her love for Sid and pulls out this ring she received from him. Perv is shocked, and before he knows it, she slips it onto her ring finger and it activates this power laid dormant within it. The king suddenly appears and begins explaining the situation of what happened to him, his poisoning, and the person who was behind it, which he tells everyone to accept his daughter as the new queen, Queen Rose. Queen Rose is in disbelief and in awe as her father tells her that he loves her. Perv begins panicking and trying to salvage the situation. Dude, Perv is a traitor! All hail Princess Rose! As Perv is insulting and telling everyone to be grateful for what he did, Princess Rose tells him he will now be sentenced to death.
As the princess of the Oriana Kingdom, as she who has been entrusted with our nation's future, I, Rose Oriana, pronounce you guilty as charged!
As Rose's mother is asking why, the ceremony is not over yet. Perv's head falls off and rolls to her. She stares at it, not realizing the situation. Before she can think, she is suddenly killed as well. Everyone is in shock, but this cult leader appears and it's clear that he's very powerful. Turns out that he's Mordred, the Knight Beyond Men. He suddenly activates this artifact that triggers the ring on Rose's finger. It sends a giant beam into the sky that opens this portal and turns into the Black Rose.
explodes. It shatters the sky itself. Everyone panics and realizes that it's the artifact that destroyed the continents for many years ago. The cult leader activates and summons this overpowered monster that looks like it came from Evalagon. This is Ragnarok, the most terrifying being to ever touch this world. As the cult leader orders it to annihilate the entire place, it charges up a power attack. But as this happens, its arm is suddenly split. Seemingly, someone has appeared to stop the end. Turns out, it's Shadow. The battle fully commences when this monster summons a bunch of his minions. The cult leader is very impressed and asks who he is, which Shadow gestures his kins to reveal themselves. They stand up and say the line, "We are Shadow, we hunt the Shadow," again. Before Shadow tells Rose she must go and attend to her duties as queen. Now, Ragnarok has fully healed and sends his minions to attack the city, which as it comes down, Shadow appears in front of it and delivers the meanest punch that shakes the entire kingdom. The overpowered monster though is stupidly overpowered. Shadow's kins are now facing the cult leader, where he pulls out his blade, and after he misses an attack, they call him out for being a coward, as the items he's using are all artifacts. He's actually weak as hell. He attempts to cut them down, but the kins clash back and manage to easily counter.
Is this an artifact I don't know about?
The wisdom we have been granted is greater than anything your ilk can comprehend. Now you will share with us all of your musty old knowledge.
Nah, bro is really getting flamed mid-fight. Queen Rose though is helping out the city by killing the stray monsters. Shadow Guardian has also joined the battle, which Rose gets approached by the maid who hated her. She is grateful now and pledges to follow her from here on. Shadow is fighting Ragnarok. He's analyzing the monster nonchalantly, where this monster showers the entire continent with absurdly powerful attacks. As Shadow is thinking, this bastard sends a powerful attack that Shadow dodges. He almost went bald from it. Shadow decides to teach him a lesson by hog-tying this giant monster. As Rose tells her guards to head off to help people, the cult leader suddenly falls beside her. He got cooked by a couple of chicks. He gets up and begins complaining that he was outnumbered. He begins saying that the monster Ragnarok will come down to destroy them. The kings though demand him to tell them everything. He agrees for some reason and explains that there are many realms, which is where Ragnarok comes from. Pretty much, this world might be an alternate timeline, might not even be fantasy at all. He begins declaring that Ragnarok will prevail, but one of the giant monster's arms falls behind him, which they all see this monster being violated by our guy Shadow. The cult leader is speechless and cannot believe that a god-level threat was beaten by some nobody. The kings decide to leave, but cult leader gives up for moping and begins laughing like a maniac. He stuffs his head in the corpse of Ragnarok, which as Shadow begins wondering what he should do after this. This giant wall of blood appears. It doesn't seem to impress Shadow. This cult leader appears and is now a bit like a bug, and you already know what happens to bugs. This dude begins trying to attack and clash with Shadow. He bleaches Shadow, but easily gets blocked. Shadow cannot believe this irrelevant character is really challenging him, so he decides to begin beating him up. He gets sent back and gets punched into the mist, but as he tries to overwhelm Shadow with magic beams, Shadow says, "Bruh, I'm getting tired of your annoying moves." Shadow sends him out of the clouds and combos him in the most badass way possible. The dude gets sent flying into outer space, and he's still trying to fight Shadow. He wonders where Shadow went, which he begins hearing this man speaking crazy. Shadow begins talking about nukes and pretty much how he wants to surpass even the heavens now.
Far side of the heavens. The ultimate destruction raining down from a soundless world. The extreme that I must eclipse. Seeing this place, feeling it, I realized again what I must.
This brother reaches out and touches the earth and covers it in his magic. Cult leader realizes this dude is not normal. Shadow begins approaching him and covers the area in his magic. "Please accept my gratitude." Cult leader panics, which Shadow points his hand at him and says, "I am atomic." This was so powerful that it completely erases the freaking universe. Thanks to Shadow's protection spell, the Earth doesn't get wiped out. These kings spot Shadow, where he is enjoying the feeling of victory. But this black hole appears, which, like every man, when he sees a black hole, he can't help but stick his fingers in it. He gets sucked in and disappears completely. Now, after covering pretty much the entire series, besides the manga, we can finally rank this brother, Sid/Shadow/John Smith, not only on the Menace tier list, but also on the G tier list. In the Menace tier list, he would be at the top. D1 Menace. In fact, he has gathered the most kills out of everyone. On the G tier list, which mostly counts aura and how many Elden Ring maidens a brother has collected, he would be placed at the very top. He's him.